Marathon prep starts today.
This is so hard. Best feeling ever.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better.
For decades, the classic marathon was considered the ultimate milestone for recreational runners. But today, 42 kilometers are no longer the finish line. What started as an extreme fringe subculture has evolved into a massive global phenomenon. Participation numbers are skyrocketing, and legendary races like the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc are so overwhelmed that star places have to be rationed through a high-stakes lottery. It seems like ultra running has become the ultimate modern fitness trend. As the ordinary marathon becomes increasingly normalized, runners are hunting for the next big challenge, searching for new boundaries to push. Ultramarathons have officially established themselves as the new benchmark for personal achievement. But this raises a fascinating question. Why? What drives someone to voluntarily endure this kind of suffering? And what truly happens inside the human mind and body when your legs scream to stop but the race has barely begun? Welcome to the world of ultra running. To understand the scale of what comes next, we first have to look at the classic marathon. The distance is highly specific, exactly 42.195 kilometers. Yet, this exact distance was actually a historical accident. Back in 1908, during the London Olympic Games, the distance was randomly extended from 40.23 kilometers to exactly 42.195 kilometers, just so the race could start at Windsor Castle and finish right in front of the royal box. Today, it is the ultimate bucket list item for millions of people. It's a subculture of tracking precise paces, agonizing over running shoes, and waking up at 5 a.m. on weekends just to get the miles in. While mass events are booming worldwide, regularly drawing over 50,000 finishers in a single weekend, the elite is faster than ever. In 2026, marathon history was rewritten when Sebastian Sawe became the first athlete ever to break the 2-hour barrier in an official race, crossing the finish line of the London Marathon in an astonishing 1 hour, 59 minutes and 30 seconds. A milestone once thought impossible had finally become reality. But for regular runners, covering those 42 kilometers, which is roughly about the distance from Osnabrück to Bielefeld, remains a massive tactical threshold. In a single race, you burn an average of 2,625 calories. As a fun fact for few, that is the nutritional equivalent of about 6.5 Leberkäsesemmeln. But what exactly is the technical benchmark for an ultramarathon? In the running world, the rule is pretty simple. Every foot race that goes beyond the classic 42.195 kilometer mark is an ultra. In fact, the German Ultramarathon Association officially begins tracking athletes in their database at a 45-kilometer mark. For many runners, entering this database is driven by a deep psychological motive, a conscious choice to explore their absolute personal boundaries and see how far they can shift them.
As for the reasons why people need that, that's a psychologically motivated question, of course, but you could turn it around and ask from a sociological perspective, what makes this ultra sector or the extreme so socially attractive? The extreme becomes attractive in a society that offers hardly any opportunities to experience these kinds of boundary-pushing moments. We have a society that is highly secured. You can see that we all have multiple insurance policies, regulated road traffic, fixed working hours. Everywhere care is taken for Herkbelrin to ensure that we are doing well, that we don't overexert ourselves, that we are not in danger. And with that, an essential element of our human existence is somewhat cut off or reduced, namely this confrontation with the new, with the extreme, with the special, but also with the deeply physical and emotional. And exactly because of that, compensatory movements occur, and one such compensatory movement is extreme sports, where these moments of experience that are cut from everyday life can be captured, planned, and lived through in a particularly intense way.
Dann in besonderer Weise intensiv auch geplant, wie ich gerade schon meinte, eingefangen werden können, erlebt werden können.
While classic marathons are all about speed on flat asphalt, ultras pivot towards brutal terrain and time-based grit. The sport is generally divided into two main categories: fixed distances and fixed times. On the distance side, the 100-kilometer road race is the traditional standard. Then there are the time-based challenges. These races don't have a finish line. Instead, athletes run against the clock for 6, 12 or 24 hours straight. There are even multi-day events lasting 48 hours or a full 6 days. Paradoxically, these massive mental battles don't take place in epic landscapes. They are usually held on tiny repetitive loops of just 1 or 2 kilometers to allow for constant medical and hydration checks. This professional framework is deeply established. In Germany, official national championships for the 100-kilometer road race have been held since 1987, with the DUV later expanding the sport by introducing national titles for 50 kilometers, 6 hours and 24 hours and ultra trail running. Yet, even on these grueling distances and repetitive loops, the elite operate at a pace that seems humanly impossible. The world record for 100 km on a track is held by Sibusiso Kubeka, who ran the 100 km in 5 hours, 59 minutes and 20 seconds, and therefore undercut the 6-hour mark for the first time.
Auf jeden Fall dieses Mentale.
Definitely the mental aspect, just pushing through. With regular running, you didn't really have to overcome that mental barrier because you just weren't running for the kind of time you do in an ultramarathon, and I just found that interesting. I wanted to see where my limit is, or how I might be able to push past that limit and how it all plays out, physically as well, of course. Exactly. I think that's something you can't really reach with normal running, or at least I couldn't.
Genau, ich denke, dass das, was man beim normalen Laufen nicht erreichen kann. Oder ich zumindest.
Genau, vielleicht muss man sich erstmal klar machen, was das Laufen
Maybe first we need to realize what kind of sports practice running actually is. The special thing about running, Liam, is that it can be integrated into everyday life in a highly flexible way, making it very compatible with different career paths and lifestyles. And this means that running is primarily done informally and self-organized. So people create their own training plans, their own routes. Yeah, running. That's perhaps important to note. The conditions, as I mentioned, travel, but also the training routes, everything is decided by oneself. There's a lot of room for personal choices, which brings this feeling of having achieved everything on your own. This was my running project. This is what I set out to do this year. Those are the kind of thought patterns, like saying that this year I want to run a half marathon, maybe a marathon next year. These self-directed projects, I can do this, I plan to do this, I'll take care of it, and I am responsible for it. Ensure that this informal, self-organized aspect becomes possible in running. Because there is definitely this zeitgeist where we are very critical of ourselves, and there are many prompts in advertising or elsewhere telling us, take care of yourself. It also comes with the underlying diagnosis that the status quo isn't enough. It's not enough if you reflect on it socially to secure wealth, for example. So a lot of it is about the fear of loss. Can I even keep up with my performance?
Okay, let's quickly summarize. Ultramarathon running is really experiencing a boom right now, in popularity and also in participants. More and more people push themselves to higher levels as a result of some social constructs, like social pressure from social media, peer pressure in their friend groups, or just the need to push themselves further and further and further. As Falk told us in our interview, he started running mostly to lose weight and just to be more athletic, and then it turned more into a passion to kind of push his boundaries and just try to see how far he can go and how much he could push himself. And it more and more became a mental struggle more than a physical one. These findings were then again verified by Professor Zander in our interview with him, when he told us that there seems to be a need for athletes going for marathons to push themselves further. We are experiencing right now the next running boom, And not only that, we are also experiencing history. Right now we live in a time where so many running records are being broken as never before. Partly that is because of the increase in technology, but also it is due to a lot more younger people starting with running and pushing themselves further and further and further towards their limits. And not only their mental limits, but also their physical limits. There are limitations to how much the human body is able to cope with.
Also beim Ultramarathon, das ist vielleicht wirklich nochmal eine ganz eigene Liga, weil das Risiko.
When it comes to the ultramarathon, that might really be a whole different league, because the risk of physical overexertion in an ultramarathon is obviously on a completely different level. What you always hear about the statistics that people sometimes even die doing it, but when you move into this extreme territory, then that is already part of the game. I'd say the awareness of your own mortality is practically built into it. I'm talking about the extreme ultramarathons here. The distances are flexible, but everything beyond a normal marathon, stretching into multi-day runs or under climatically grueling conditions. They really search for those high-stakes challenges.
So I started running at the official start time, well, a bit later. I think the start time was 4 p.m., but we started about 10 minutes late or something because, since I wasn't aiming for a specific time, but rather for distance, it didn't really matter. And yeah, at first it was just very, very crowded. There was really a massive crowd of people, which I hadn't expected at all. But because I wasn't aiming for a certain time, it didn't matter, and I just started jogging at a very relaxed pace. During the first, let's say, 10 kilometers, it was extremely important to me not to overpace, because with all the excitement and everything, that easily could have happened. But I mean, since there were so many people anyway, I couldn't overpace, even if I wanted to, let's put it that way. And yeah, that was actually quite pleasant. I'd say the first 20 kilometers were pretty enjoyable because there was constantly so much sensory input. But I also remember this must have been around kilometer 42 to 50 or 55 that I actually managed, even if it's kind of a defense mechanism of the body, I managed to completely shut off my brain. Like I just stopped thinking entirely, which is why I can't even remember that part very well anymore.
Ich werde meine Limits noch weiter pushen, um beim nächsten Ultramarathon mitzumachen.